Hello everyone and welcome back to a short reviews video for April 2022. This is a monthly segment where I basically mention those albums and EPs that I didn't really feel that I had that many things to talk about, so all of them are just put in this section over here with me giving a few mentions about them. Those albums usually go from 4- to 6+, and some of them I do recommend them to you since they might be more to your liking, others I don't think they're really that much worth of your time. So with that being said, let's just jump straight into the video. The new album of Red Hot Chili Peppers, it's basically just another basic Red Hot Chili Peppers album, but it doesn't really have the energy or the flair that made some of their defining works really appealing. At this point I don't really believe that there's any reason to keep track with Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is a snooze fest of an album, it gets easily boring, and it doesn't help that this is a massive album. I don't know why Red Hot Chili Peppers just keep putting out those really lengthy albums, and this one it's just really one-dimensional. In my opinion, it's not really worth your time. Even if you are a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, I love some of their older stuff, but I definitely cannot get into this whatsoever. I'd say that this is an interesting direction from Carpenter Brut, as we even get some more metal parts and influences with his sound, so I believe that there are a few nice combinations of like synthwave with metal approaches, but for the most part I'd say that this is a kind of forgettable album. It didn't really have that many elements that would appeal to me in comparison to the previous album. This one ended up going into a more of like a horror synth sound and playing more with its dark aesthetic. I can't really say though that it provides some of its most compelling ideas. Still a pretty interesting album, but with not that much of a replayability value for me. Well, I can at least say that this sounds better compared to what we saw with some of the previous works of Vince Staples. I still can't really say that there is that much to this album, though it feels somewhat more mature and serious, and I believe that there are some quite nice and smooth sounds to it. It is a pretty chill album, so even if I don't really believe that there is that much to it, at least it's not the mess that we saw with the previous album. Considering that I've never really been that much into country music, it's never been my thing, I actually end up finding enjoyment out of some stuff that I've heard from Orville Peck. I believe that this is a pretty interesting album, not one that I would see myself really returning that much into, but listening to it I understand its appeal, and honestly some of the tracks over here were pretty nice. I liked some of the melodies, I liked some of the vocals. This one also goes into some more rock directions. It is slightly different compared to the previous works, and I like some of the things that it's going for. It's executed nicely. So yeah, nothing really quite exceptional for me, but still quite enjoyed it for what it is and for what it offered. I believe that there are some pretty interesting tracks over here. Once again, like with the previous two releases of Vanum, I don't really believe that Legend does something that much more significant. It is another really average atmospheric black metal album for them, where the riffs and the melodies can be nice at times, but if you're familiar with the previous two albums of the band, it's more of like the same. There's not really something that much special to it. I believe that this is another basic album for the band that does try to make something slightly more innovative, but hasn't really achieved it. This has to be my least favorite Ice Peak album by far, even though I admire that it goes for something different as this is their most metal album. It is quite different compared to anything else they've done previously, so it's a nice change of pace, but I don't really believe that the issue comes with the change of their sound, rather than I actually find the mixing to be kinda poor, the vocals are not some of the best, and there are many tracks over here that lack vision, or just feel really short and not really going anywhere. So yeah, I don't have an issue with Ice Peak going into a more metal direction. I don't really believe that it's executed properly though. In my opinion, they could have done a much better job with this. I was actually slightly looking forward to this particular release out of Filmmaker because it is released on the label Veil, and I was hoping for some innovation and something slightly more different, which in a case I believe that we get it. It is one of the more industrial projects over here, and I believe that it goes into some pretty nice industrial techno directions, but for the most part we're talking about a pretty basic Filmmaker release, especially when it comes to the extremely monotonous and repetitive structure of the songs. That is nice for like the first minutes, but it quickly becomes boring. I like the release, I think that it's a pretty fine Filmmaker album, but not really that much of a special occasion as I was hoping it to be. Artscode are back with a new EP that basically sounds like anything else Artscode have put out over the past couple of years. Honestly, at this point I don't really believe that there is that much to this band. It's just more of the same and they're just beating a dead horse at this point. I don't really believe that they have some really all that interesting ideas over here. I believe that it's just a really basic and generic war metal release. Current Value's new EP, Power Cube, is simply okay. I believe that once again we get some pretty cool production and we see Current Value still pushing into this neurofunk sound that he has been using for a very long time at this point. As the releases progress, I sense that he tries to go into some more abstracted, bizarre structures, which especially in this release I feel that they're like all over the place. It is a quite bizarre release when it comes to the beat structures at some occasions, and it just feels over the top at this point. A pretty okay release, but certainly not one of my favorites out of this new era of Current Value. I haven't really kept track with the latest releases of DÄLEK because the last time I remember listening to one of the latest releases from them, I was really disappointed by it. I believe that this one is okay. I like some of the beats over here in particular. They have a really cool old school feel to them. And some of the atmospheres being really dark and haunting really add up to the experience. I like the ambience, I like that it's kinda soothing at times. I believe that in some cases we get some quite lengthy and drawn out moments that don't really work that greatly, but the beats, the delivery and the overall atmosphere are quite solid over here. This was like extremely boring to me. While I appreciate it for having some variety to it as it switches from gothic country to neo-folk to some more drawn and psychedelic rock directions, nothing stood out over here. Unfortunately, this is one of the least engaging albums that I've heard all year. Now this is a pretty interesting collaboration and I was actually kinda looking forward to listening to this. Mizmor and Thou create an album together and it's a really slow and extremely heavy atmospheric sludge metal album. In what it does, I believe that it contains some of the best material both Mizmor and Thou have created. However, for me, it doesn't stop being another one of those sludge metal albums that goes on for so long, and you know it's like this every time. They start really strong. This album has some great ideas to it, some amazing riffs. However, it goes on for so long and after a certain point this particular sound ends up becoming somewhat tedious, ends up becoming the same thing and kinda boring. And so I wanted to like this album more, but it has some really lengthy tracks and the overall album is like really long. And it ends up being another one of those sludge metal albums that requires a little bit of a patience from you. It somewhat pays off as, like I said, I believe that it provides some really good ideas from both bands and some of their most exceptional moments. But it's another album where it's hard for me to get in its entirety again. And that's all for the short reviews of April 2022. What's your opinion on any of those albums or EPs? Like them, dislike them, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.